You know, The Rock told me personally years ago, he said, Coach, if it's good, there's nothing they can say about it. Now, I've sat on the sidelines for well over 10 years because I felt like I had to fit into the sports world that I went to when I left the WWE. I didn't want any part of it. That all ends right now. Because today, many of you said, Coach, I need your reaction. For those of you who don't know, I was a part of well over 10 WrestleManias. I've been to 16 and participated in. These WrestleMania press conferences, they were my cup of tea. I hosted over 5 or 6. It was too many for me to count. Now I'm going to say this, that what I saw today was classic WWE. And from when The Rock was on Pat McAfee, and this is why I tell all of you who've never been in the business, who've never been in those meetings like I have, who've never understood, you write something, and if the fan base says we want something else, then you pivot. So let me start with The Rock on Pat McAfee. It was very clear. And The Rock also told me, he told me a lot of things, because I stood next to him for 2 or 3 years every single week. And he also said, Coach, there is nothing better than being a big-time heel. We forget that before The Rock as a babyface, when he became the biggest movie star in the world, he was one of the best heels of all time, and that's how you become one of the biggest baby faces of all time. There's nothing like being a heel. Hell, at one time, I was a very over heel. Now understand this, that when he went on Pat McAfee in Las Vegas on Thursday, and he started calling him Cody Crybabies, everybody on the internet, I laughed, because he's absolutely right. That's what all of you do. You never let a storyline play out. You never let the theater of the storyline play out. What we saw today in Las Vegas was true theater. Now, there's a few things that I personally would have done differently. But for Roman Reigns, and I guess I'm still not really clear on this. I know Cody said, I want Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns said, hey, it's way too late. The tribal chief calls all the shots. And then another thing that The Rock taught me years and years ago, when him and I, not you, him and I, would stand around backstage and go over our little skits. And I know, most of the time, I was the dumb one. I looked stupid, but I was learning. Oh yes, I was learning. And he taught me, you make it as close to reality as possible. And when they brought out the big bloodline, and that looked like $1 million. I mean, I got to tell you, that set was amazing. And he went to the top, and he said, my grandfather, his grandfather, blood, and he put his hand up. That was powerful. That was powerful. And then Roman came in, and they gave the hug. I got to thinking, I said, wait a second. How is this still going to be the biggest main event? Because The Rock was very, very clear, and he was right. Just because the fan base doesn't want to see The Rock and Roman Reigns because they've been invested in Cody Rhodes for 2 years since he left AEW and came back to the WWE in one of the most shocking turns of all time. But Cody Rhodes, coming out after The Rock and Roman had kind of stood their ground and said, whether you like it or whether you don't, whether you hate it, whether you don't, damn it, you're going to respect it. That was powerful. And that's about as real as it gets, because thinking about it in your home, where you live, your family, is there anything bigger than that? And the answer is no. So now Cody, he also spit some facts. He said it doesn't matter who sits at the head of the table. Neither one of you have been cooking anything for over 2 years. And that, quite frankly, and I love me some Roman Reigns. He's one of my favorite guys I've ever talked to, been around, good dude, former college football player, and he's figured it out. Because back when I was on the road full time, you couldn't miss a week. You were burnt out after a couple of years. I went 10 straight years missing one Monday night. So yes, Roman Reigns hasn't participated that much. Have we forgotten the man walks around with cancer every day of his life? So it has to be special. It has to be big. And they've created this tribal chief character, and it has worked. Because when I went back in 2017, and they had me in a very bad role for myself, I might add, they were not cheering Roman Reigns. And I remember thinking to myself, they keep using him in main events, but the crowd's not getting into it until they did. Because they let the storyline breathe. So now Cody comes out, the crowd's behind him, he takes his shot at Rock and Roman Reigns, and then Rock steps up, and I wrote this down to make sure I got it correct. He says, when you talk about his family, you talk about my family. When you talk about his ancestors, you talk about my ancestors. When you talk about his blood, you talk about my blood. And then there was the mix-up, the fight, and the slap heard around the world. I don't know what the actual main event is going to be. And in true WWE fashion, they left you wondering. Now, the part that I didn't like, if I'm being honest, was the interview with Triple H afterwards, as The Rock and Roman went by. I would have left it. I would not have had Rock say, hey, I'll slap the shit out of him again. I would have left it. I don't know that I've ever seen a babyface bigger than what Cody Rhodes is right now. And we talked about the real life stuff that's going on. And the fact that The Rock has new movies coming out. They just announced Moana 2. He talked about his daughter, who's doing very well in the world of pro wrestling. In real life, she has gotten death threats. Let's stop that, please. That's ridiculous. This is a show. But he has agreed, now that he has come back, and make no mistake about it, having Brian Gerwitz, I always say his name wrong, and few people know, I used to sublet his first apartment in Stamford, Connecticut all those years ago. But Brian has a great creative mind. And when the business is at its best, it's when you don't know what's coming. So I don't know what's coming. It's a 2-night spectacular. But having the WWE in Las Vegas today was amazing. Having it in skit form was amazing. And having all those big-time superstars was amazing. So I plead with all of you who love pro wrestling, who love the WWE, let this play out. I know you've all been waiting for 2 years. Guess what? You could wait for a year, you could wait for 2 more. 52 weeks a year, and when you make it good this many weeks in a row, just say thank you and be on your way. I'm here for it. I've been very open that I wanted nothing to do with the world, but they've sucked me back in. They've sucked me back in. So I'll be watching every week, every minute, just to see where this storyline goes. And understand this, that for Cody, for Rock, for Roman Reigns, they're having a ball. So you can boo all you want. And you can cheer all you want. It is music to their ears. The WWE, they smell money. I said this last week, right here on this YouTube channel. The Rock is big business. And today, on Thursday, in Las Vegas, once again, he proved it.